Demon Slayer Infinity Castle was an insane film. Peak animation. The ending of Demon Slayer is just peak in general. But let's talk about this first movie. I'll let you know when we get into spoilers though. This movie did everything that it needed to, given what was going to be happening in the story. Obviously, it was titled, the subtitle for it was Akaza's Return. And man, did that boy return. Source material was already incredible, and it made me love Demon Slayer even more. Which, story-wise, up until that point, I was kind of iffy on it, but the ending really saves it. And this first part, in terms of the actual story, makes what we've gotten, even the lows of what we gotten, that much better, because we get so many developments for characters in great ways, and we get to see so many characters in different lights that we haven't seen previously, at least fully to the same extent. And then of course, I can't talk about this without mentioning the beautiful art, animation, production, sound quality, sound design, everything and anything you can think of. This movie had it. This lady just cut me off. Incredible. She's still proceeding to cut me off. That's insane. That's crazy. Not gonna go into it too much, but camera work, the standout point was definitely the CGI. For it being not only a big budget film, I expected this, and being affordable, I expected the CGI to be good, but they absolutely killed it with the wide panning shots of CGI of demons and the actual Infinity Castle itself, the way it moved. But they do a great job at combining CG with actual 2D animation and integrating it so that unless you're really looking for it or you know what you're looking for, you won't be able to tell because of how smooth it is. And they did a great job of that whenever they would move the camera around. If you know what I mean, like they would have characters moving and then the camera would move around the characters moving. And that just takes a lot of like talent to be able to do that, and also ability to produce that. A lot was the camera movement was really, really good, and it made you feel like you were really in the castle. And that's something that needed to be had. They needed to really nail how the Infinity Castle moves and how it interacts with the characters and how it makes them interact with the world around them. And they nailed that perfectly in this first part. Like if they did it this good here, what comes up next, they're for sure gonna do it justice. The art was pretty strong. I will say there were some moments of fight choreography that weren't as good as the peaks of what we gotten from Demon Slayer, but in general, overall, just because of the quality of the CGI, the animation, and the art style itself for certain shots, I can notice when the choreography wasn't as good or a little lackluster, but it's because of the peak and the high standard that Demon Slayer has set for itself. So that's not really a negative for me. It was still incredible to watch. The soundtrack for this movie was incredible. Every bit of music, every note, every instrument that they used, which they used a lot, works insanely well with fitting the themes of whether it's a fight scene, whether it's a flashback. It just fits so well. So that was great. I mean, like I said, I could talk more about the animation and stuff, but I want to get into the story. So once again, I'm going to try to keep it as spoiler free as possible for like an overall review. So it starts off right where season 4 left off. We get thrown into the Infinity Castle, a bit of a flashback to like refresh us a little bit. We get thrown straight into it, and they waste no time just showing us exactly what the heck is gonna go on in here. They waste no time like setting the tone for these next 2 films, because shit gets dark. And I really like that they didn't pull their punches at all in terms of showing the darkness. Like they didn't stray away from it or shy away from it. Given that it says Akaza's Return, the fight and then the promotional art is the fight between Tanjiro, Akaza, and Giyu. That shit was straight up incredible, bro. I don't remember Giyu having those type of hands in the manga, bro. I don't remember that. Granted, I haven't read it in a while, but I don't remember him having that level of hands in the manga. Review of just that movie, it's hard for me to give like an unbiased review, because they elevated the source material so much that it makes me want to give them even more points. But for the actual content of the story and the way it was paced and the choreography, like analyzing it on its own, I still think it's like a solid 7 to 8 out of 10. Now, taking into account the fact that I've read the manga and how much it elevated the source material, for me, it was a 10 out of 10 because of what they did with the source material, which I will get into now. With that said, let's get into spoilers. And the first part of this movie is a mini Shinobu film. Shinobu, like, and then this is where like all the also the scaling and stuff comes into play, because Doma calls her one of the fastest Hashira he's ever faced, which a lot of people confuse for her being one of the strongest. But she is extremely fast. Like that's her strength, obviously, is her speed, because she doesn't have the actual strength to be able to fight a demon, which Doma himself says that with her speed, if she was stronger, she would have been able to chop his head off, which a lot of people confuse with her being one of the strongest, which is not what Doma's saying. Doma's saying if she was strong, she would be one of the strongest with her speed. But that fight, the ice, I honestly forgot about his blood art, that he freezes the blood around him and then you breathe it in and it like it makes your body decompose from the inside out, essentially. I completely forgot that was his demon art. And when he brought out the fans and then the ice effects were legit, like, incredible. Like the little snowflake type of things, and then the actual mist, I guess you could call it. Whatever it was, that effect was brilliantly used. And then not to mention, of course, Shinobu's actual breathing style, the insect breath, visually was interesting. The CGI was a little weird at times for some of the attacks, but overall it was great. The back and forth between Shinobu and Doma, learning about obviously the first of many flashbacks for Shinobu and then Doma, getting his backstory, which is actually pretty interesting considering the fact that people looked up to him always as a god, so that's why he acts the way he does. And then for Shinobu, the fact that Doma's the one that murdered her sister, so she has that stake in the battle. And then eventually getting to the point where Doma claps her and absorbs her and finishes absorbing her by the time what's her name? Kanawe? No. Oh, I forgot her name. That's essentially the end of Shinobu's movie. And then we get over to Zenitsu's movie, which is more like a short film. But I mean, that fight with Kaigaku, seeing him, when I read that in the manga, him pulling out that new form that he created was honestly like one of the most hype parts of that specific section of the arc. And when he pulled out that new form, that seventh breathing form that only he could do because he created it, that shit was hype. Even though it was short, like I'm pretty sure they drew it out, because I don't remember them fighting at all. I just remember like Zenitsu getting clapped up and then him pulling out the dragon. And when he was charging up, and that was another thing too, they really like used the lighting of the scene to really show the light, the good and dark, the good side and the bad side between Kaigaku and Zenitsu. And that was a really nice touch also. But when Zenitsu was there charging up, and then he said Kaminari Gokyu and then fucking blitzed him, yeah, that shit was fucking fire. Oh, I nearly teared up from like excitement multiple times within the film because I knew what was coming up. But the way that they executed the "you were my pride and joy" moment, when he said that nearly got me. Like I was there choking up because I knew what was coming. And then when he said it, and it was like this beautiful field and like the colors and everything, the music, when he said that, I was like, damn, like I felt it. I was like, oh yeah, they're really cooking here. So then with that over, we move on to the real movie, Akaza. When he started punching down or kicking down, and then he shows up, and then Tanjiro screams Akaza, and then they start fighting. He pulls out the sun breathing. Oh my god, it was just so crispy and smooth. Like I'm saying, the camera movements really shined there the most, I would say. I really liked, they really showed off how strong Giyu was, or Giyu is, because he was putting belt to ass for a little bit there. Again, for being an upper Moon 3, obviously Akaza's very, as we find out in the movie, gets stronger or is able to adapt to the fighting spirit of his opponents. So, but then Giyu not having too much of a fighting spirit, just kind of going through the motions, allowed him to like catch Akaza off guard at some points. And then we get the moment where he pulls out the mark. No, actually before that, we get the beginnings of what is the best backstory in Demon Slayer for the best character in Demon Slayer, Akaza. When Tanjiro and him are having that conversation, and then he feels the touch on his shoulder and he doesn't know who it is, but it ends up being his sensei, voiced by Gojo, by the way. And after that conversation, and then we see like they start putting the seeds, obviously in this actual story, of that he has like he was a normal person before becoming an actual demon. That part also was really cool, seeing Tanjiro at the end of the day, regardless of how he feels and felt about the fact that he killed Rengoku, Tanjiro still is pure in heart and wants to save him from being a demon. And we see that not only in his conversation with Akaza before Giyu gets the mark, but later on when he actually gets to the selfless state and eventually the see-through world as well. Giyu comes back after getting thrown to the side by Akaza, and he's like, "Oh, you made me hurt my back," and then he fucking unlocks the mark. Like, that's the most Giyu shit. But the real mark activation is gonna come in the next movie, bro. If y'all haven't read the manga and y'all don't know what's coming, when that mark activation happens, it's over. It's over. But anyway, when Giyu gets his mark and he starts going off a little bit more, and then Tanjiro is slowly trying to realize what he can possibly do, and then he gets his own flashback about his dad, and we learn more about the Hinokami tradition. And then as well, we get the scene with the bear, which they did it justice to the, like, so they overdid justice, if that makes any sense. Like, they did it way better than I thought they would. And I absolutely love that scene in the manga in terms of the storyline of it. And they really, really, really nailed it in the movie. So we get that backstory for Tanjiro, the flashback, and then we understand a little bit more about the selfless state and in the see-through world, and then we actually get to see it, which that scene of it happening for the first time, technically, because he activated it when he was fighting the Upper Moon 4, was it, that they were fighting in the swordsmith village? I think it was 4. He unlocked it a little bit to see through the actual guy's, the demon's heart, and then see the little guy in the heart. Seeing that full scene happen now in the movie, in the theater, was incredible. Like, it was equivalent of seeing like when Tengen did like the whole musical score thing, in terms of like, holy shit, what's happening? But obviously it wasn't the same thing. But seeing Tanjiro do that, and then we get comedy moments sprinkled in here and there, but we get another one here where he's walking up behind Akaza, and then he goes, "Akaza, I'm gonna cut your head off," which obviously is fucking stupid that he did that, but that's not who Tanjiro is. He's a man, he's like a pure-hearted person. So he's like, he doesn't want to sneak up on him. He wants to fight him head on. And when he does that, and then Akaza gets freaked out for a second, and then he's like, "Yo, I gotta kill this guy. I can't let him live anymore." That was a really, really good scene, like shot wise. And then we get their scuffle, and then he, honestly, after he gets the see-through world and activates selfless state, he kicks Akaza's ass, because we learn about the whole fact that Akaza's fighting compass and everything gets powered up through fighting spirit of the person. That's why he was the worst matchup for Rengoku, because his whole thing is literally set your heart ablaze. So since Tanjiro turned all that shit off, Akaza had no way of dealing with Tanjiro apart from just taking it. And he got his head fucking chopped the fuck off. And when that shit happened, that was straight up, and that they really did that scene justice also. Which, it just gives me so much more hope, because if they're doing these scenes justice, I cannot wait, which we'll get into, for what's to come in the next movies, because we got one more, this next one, and then another one. Giyu and Tanjiro are fucked up. Their bodies are literally crumbling, and I don't even know how Giyu survived the fight with Akaza. I'm not gonna lie to you. Tanjiro, I get he's the main character, but Giyu got his shit rocked, and he was still fighting when Tanjiro got knocked unconscious. He was still trying to scrap Akaza and to keep Tanjiro alive. Like, that shit alone is goat worthy. But anyway, let's get into the fucking flashback, bro. The best part of the movie is Akaza's flashback. Ever since I read it in the manga, I've been waiting for this fucking moment. And they nailed it. As soon as it started, I already knew where it was gonna go, obviously. And I was getting teary-eyed from the moment that it started. Seeing it starting to unfold, and seeing why Akaza is the way that, or seeing Akaza how he was prior to becoming a demon, and then getting the moment of why he was even a martial artist in the first place, why he's just hands all the time, and then we learn about his humanity in a way that, like, we haven't gotten with the other demons, but in a way that makes so much more understandable, in a way that we've never gotten with another demon. Because at first, you're like, bro, he's just a criminal. Like, yeah, he had a hard life, whatever. But then we get into the second half with his wife and the sensei. And then you understand, oh, this is why he became a villain. Because he had nothing. He was a criminal for what he did. If that would have been his backstory, it would not have been as good. But then he gets a chance at redemption with his sensei, and then this girl that he does not know at the time that he's able to take care of because of how he took care of his dad. And then she gets better, and they eventually get together. Like, they're gonna be married. But because of how terrible people are, those people end up poisoning the well of the dojo and killing not only the sensei but his wife, which, what was her name? Kyoki, I think her name was. So she dies, gets poisoned, the sensei dies, and then Akaza just snaps. And he goes off and kills everybody. And then Muzan sees this, which, you know how crazy it is that Muzan pulled up the only reason he pulled up was because someone had told him that a demon was wreaking havoc, and only for him to find out that it was a human. And then he stabs Akaza in the head, which I think the only reason why he did that was because of the fact that, what the fuck? Yo, this guy, what the fuck is this guy? I think the only reason why he stabbed Akaza in the head is because he could tell that he was still sentimental and had those emotions. So that stab in the head removed, or I guess deleted Akaza's deleted Akaza's memories, or removed them, causing him to forget it, so that he would legit just be fighting for no reason in terms of, like, achieving something, but he still had those deep rooted feelings of love and affection that kept him connected in ways that he didn't know subconsciously. Like, he wouldn't eat or harm women because of his wife. His techniques, the destructive death, the snowflake was the hairpin in her hair. The actual names of the techniques are the fireworks that they saw the night where she confessed her love to him and asked her to marry him. Asked him to marry her. That was a really, really sweet moment. And then, and it really makes you, like, understand why he does what he does, and it makes sense logically, like why he became the way he did. Like, it's not just like a villain that's like bad for the sake of being bad, like Muzan is. He's actually compelling. Like, he has a reason to be the way that he is. On top of the fact that Muzan just gave him the blood because he said he didn't care anymore because he didn't have his wife. And then the part that really gets to me, after all that, after all the killing he's done, the wife sees him in the afterlife, and after being in heaven for so long, knowing that Akaza is back to normal, like can be back to normal in this life, despite all the evil he's done, despite the fact that he's going to hell, she goes to hell with him because of the love that they had and the times that in her worst he was with her. So in his worst, she's gonna be with him. And she goes out of her way, literally, to join him in hell because of the love that they have. Like, and then when she's holding him, and then you see the facade of Akaza just fade away, and then the boy come back. That's easily my favorite backstory in Demon Slayer. Akaza is easily my favorite character. I need to buy that statue. And then after, he pummels himself with the destructive deaths. And then, well, I mean, no, that was actually before, but whatever. He literally just gives up, which, thank God, because if he would have just regenerated, it would have been lights over. The movie would have been over. The series would have been over. It would have ended right there. Has this shit's been tilted the whole god. I don't got nothing else to say about the actual movie. 10 out of 10. I don't care. Now, I'm gonna do a little bit of what's to come. We get a little hints of it. I've seen Kokushibo at the end being pissed off that Akaza gave up. We get a little bit of it with Doma saying that how he can't believe Akaza actually died, and then that's where we have the setup for next movie. But let me tell y'all, when Kokushibo pulls up and he fights, this is a final spoiler warning, if anybody's even here. But when Kokushibo pulls up and fights Gyome and Genya and Sanami and Muichiro, it fucking lights out. The real Mark is gonna come out here. When Gyome says, I was planning on saving this for Muzan, but I guess I'll have to use it here, or I guess you'll do. And he goes, ugh, oh my God. I can't wait for that. The Genya moment. That's gonna fucking hit. I don't know what the pacing's gonna be like, but we might even get the Yoruichi flashback in the next movie at the end. That could be the last thing that we get that like holds us over. Which, if that's true, and the last thing we get is that flashback, I would love to see that next movie. I don't know how realistic that would be though, because we gotta get that whole Kokushibo fight, and then the Doma versus, what's her name? I don't remember. The Doma versus the mini Shinobu and Inosuke fight. They could definitely fit the Yoruichi flashback in there though, to be honest. But I mean, we'll see. This movie was just everything that I wanted in this section, in this part of Demon Slayer. Especially the Akaza flashback, bro. It hit. If you are at this point, like in the video, and you haven't watched it, I don't know why you're watching this. Number one, because this shit's gonna get like 2 views. Number 2, because it's a spoiler. We're already at the end of the spoiler review of fucking the movie. But, and if you stayed up to the end and you hadn't read it, I gave you fair fucking warning. So I'm acting like I got like 100,000 subs that people are gonna actually watch this shit, bro. Like, I'm not gonna edit the shit today and post it and it's gonna get fucking 4 views. And 2 of them are gonna be mine to make sure that the actual video works. It is what it is, though. I love this shit. With that being said, remember to stay happy, healthy, positive. Peace out.